Indiana, and today she will be sharing her insights on self-acceptance and mutual respect. Give it up for Lili.
Does my hair look okay? Does it look good? Does anyone have a hair tie? Okay. Is it cancer? Is it chemo? Is it a fashion choice? Is it a statement? Is it a phase? Is she Voldemort? Is she Caillou? I want to say that it's absolutely fine for everyone to think those things. But to answer all of your questions, the answer is no. Let me start with the why. You may be asking, why is she making a speech? I understand that many of you think I have cancer. I get it. We associate hair loss with chemotherapy as a treatment for cancer. I don't want others to label me as the cancer kid or treat me differently because of a haircut. I've walked by multiple people who seem to be afraid of me because when I, try to smile or wave, they just kind of and not even acknowledge my presence. The purpose of my speech today is to take you through the condition I have, what it is like to have it, the 3 things I've learned from it, and what I hope you will take away. The most important takeaway I can give you is to be kind. So what is it? The name of my condition is called alopecia universalis, sometimes more generally called alopecia areata. The scientific definition of alopecia areata is a sudden hair loss that starts with 1 or more circular bald patches that may overlap. According to medical news today, in the majority of cases, hair falls out in patches around the size of a quarter. For most people, this hair loss is nothing more than a few patches, though in some cases, mine for example, it can be more extreme. This is an example of alopecia areata, which is the patches of hair loss, and this is the example of alopecia totalis, being the entire hair loss of the skin. And here is me. Alopecia universalis is hair loss of the entire body, which is my current condition. When I was around 2 or 3, I would get bald patches that would go away after a day or so. Then, when I began kindergarten, within the first 2 weeks, I lost all of the hair on my head. This condition occurs when white blood cells in the immune system attack the cells and hair follicles, causing them to completely prevent hair growth. So basically, it's an autoimmune disorder. What it's like to have it is that it's my receding hairline that came 60 years too early. The disadvantages not having hair are that I have to wear sunscreen or some type of sun protection. I have to wear sunscreen or some type of head protection from the sun. sorry, a little nervous. How many of you have spring allergies? Yeah? Well, imagine those allergies being 10 times worse by taking away nose hairs. I am unfortunately allergic to pollen, which is ironic because my name is a flower, but springtime is a nightmare for me. I mean, it's like I have a cold for 2 months. I constantly have a running nose and I have to wake up to my eyelids being crusted over due to not having eyelashes. But there are some advantages to not having hair. For instance, I save money on shampoo, conditioner, shaving equipment, hair dryers, salon appointments, hair ties, scrunchies, and I never have a bad hair day. I mean, think about it. You can't have a bad hair day if you don't have any hair. I think the majority of you either know who I am or remember seeing me around because I happen to be the only bald student. My friends find me easier in the dining hall because, well, but the greatest advantage of not having hair are my hair jokes. Since I'm the only one that can make them, I take advantage of that a lot. For instance, what do you call a bunch of rabbits hopping backwards? A receding hairline. What gift should you give a bald person? A comb, because they'll never part with it. I know, it's so funny, I know. So right now, I look like a potato with glasses. But without glasses, well, I just look like a potato. I mean, I could wear a wig and makeup and do my eyebrows and non-existent eyelashes every morning, but it wouldn't feel like me. Even if it might make others feel more comfortable, it would make me feel fake, as if I needed to hide who I am and what I stand for. I want to stay true and authentic to myself, regardless of what other people think or want from me. I understand that some people wear makeup to express themselves, and that is what makes them feel comfortable. I'm definitely not against that in any way, and in fact, I tried that, but it felt like I wasn't being my true self. Specifically at Sadie's last year, I did go all out to see what I would look like with hair. I have to say, I think I freaked out anyone and everyone who knew me. Being true to myself also means being true to you. So I want to say what I've learned so far after having over a decade of an involuntary haircut. Number one, I'm not a victim. It is okay to feel bitter or distressed when tragedy strikes. I don't know a single person who's been excited about the loss of a loved one or a diagnosis of a life-threatening condition, which mine is not. But it is important to know that hardships can be the greatest learning experiences to shape you into a better person. Adversity isn't an excuse to go around asking for pity or sympathy. Victimizing yourself does not fix the situation. You do. So you have a choice to make. When faced with adversity, you can run away or push through it. It is fulfilling to go through hardships and learn from it rather than running from it. I can choose to sit in my room all day and feel sorry for myself, or I can go to classes and get stuff done. I mean, you don't choose to go through adversities. It just happens and you have to learn how to deal with it. I didn't choose to become bald or deal with the internal struggle of my body attacking itself. I lost my hair before I understood the value society placed on it or how people reacted to it. But being bald isn't the hardest thing that I have to go through. Along with alopecia, I also suffer from my immune system attacking my thyroid, Lyme disease, and a condition where my intestines don't absorb nutrients. So I don't want to get incredibly technical here, but in short, my body has a lot of issues with energy. It's like only having a gallon of gas in your car, no matter how far you have to travel that day. Same goes with my energy. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease in the 3rd grade when I started falling asleep in class. In order to maintain a reasonable level of health, I've had to do a lot of different kinds of health treatments. Just about everything imaginable, from taking up to 48 pills a day, to dietary restrictions, to IV treatments, to shots in my head, to herbal water, to probiotic yogurt, to etc. So all in all, my body isn't the best. I have to deal with the embarrassment of not being able to run as fast for as long as my other athletic peers. This isn't the hardest thing anyone have to go through, but I've chosen to make the best out of the situation I'm in. Although I have these challenges, I love sports because of the values of teamwork, sportsmanship, and self-discipline associated with it. But I have to accept that my best isn't the best of everyone else. Although I have these challenges, I never let my energy problems keep me from doing my best. I choose to work through the adversities I've been given and grow from them to strengthen my purpose in serving the people around me. I found my drive in the service of others. When focusing on what made me happy and feel accomplished, I looked at the instances in which I was helping people or serving a purpose. It's the reason I get up in the morning, and when faced with fatigue or energy problems, it was an easy choice to lay down and give up or use it as an excuse. But my passion is what kept me going and picked me up time and time again. Not being a victim means you can help others. I've found joy in my life by helping others, and I can't help people if I'm a victim myself. Number 2, own yourself. Owning yourself and your actions is about being confident that you're doing the right thing and admitting when you've made a mistake or don't know all of the answers. How does this relate to me being bald? Well, some people say that I am a confident person. I know, shocker, right? So sorry. Sorry, they told me to take this out, but I couldn't. At first I was confused. I mean, how does literally walking around with an involuntary haircut make me confident? I don't really know. I just kind of walk outside and bam, confidence. Not really. But I believe confidence goes hand in hand with overcoming adversities. It is choosing not to be a victim, but instead choosing to be a victor. Confidence is what you've learned from your past adversities to conquer your future hardships. It is being sure of yourself and who you choose to be with what you've learned and how far you've come. In the first grade, I was a pretty active kid. Moving to a new school 3 weeks after the school year started made me nervous, so I wore a wig. As you can imagine, that didn't last long. I know, wow. Oh, God. One day, I was playing tag, and of course, when you run, you sweat. One day, my wig became very hot and sweaty, and eventually I just and handed it to my teacher, asking if she could hold it. I think you can imagine her facial expression seeing one of her students take off her hair and hand it to them. So I decided not to wear wigs, because they made me uncomfortable and I hated them. But walking around bald still didn't make me confident. Growing up, I never had confidence. I would wear hoodies in fancy restaurants, and because I was ashamed of who I was and the way I looked, I would hide out in my room all day and not talk to anyone. I don't think I started getting confidence until 2 years ago. I always wanted to stay true and authentic to myself, regardless of what other people wanted or thought of me. But then, during my freshman year, I came to a realization that I just didn't care. One day, I just said, what the heck? It's a haircut. If people hate me over a haircut, that's on them. The moment I stopped caring about what they thought and what their opinions were, I became confident. As long as I was doing what was right, trying to become a better person, and treating others with kindness, it didn't matter what others thought. It mattered what I thought. Learning how to live without being bothered by what others think, it's one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned. It was a liberating feeling to stop comparing myself to others. Bald or not bald, the most important thing is to live your authentic life and be your authentic self. Find the courage to compliment others. Confident people compliment people. If you are a confident and capable person, you never feel the need to put anyone else down. Confidence is having the ability to do the right thing even when others don't. You don't have to make judgments about other people. You just let them be who they are. I believe the greatest lesson I've learned from being bald is that vulnerability is the key to courage. I'm vulnerable all the time. Being bald is like I have a neon sign on my body saying that there's something wrong with me. I can't help it, and again, I want to stay true to my authentic self by not wearing a wig, so I just deal with it. But through this vulnerability, I have been able to make deep, meaningful connections with the people around me. I'm not talking about the people who come up to me on the street and say, "You're so strong." I'm talking about the people who actually share their own vulnerability with me about what it is that they're going through, whether it be their own health or medical issues. Through this, I've been surprised time and time again. Last year, I had a concussion for 8 months. Fun stuff, right? Who here has either had a concussion or has been on concussion protocol? Oh yeah. Well, I went to the health center quite frequently last year, which meant I also had a lot of meals there. I think if anyone has had a meal at the health center, you know it can go one of two ways, right? Either it's like you and two other strangers, not looking at anyone, just not saying anything, just staring and eating your food. Or you could see someone you know or a classmate and have that mutual... Yeah, so that happened to me. I saw a classmate that sat down and had lunch with me, and after all this shallow chit-chat, she started asking questions. So I gave her the spiel that I'm giving you now, but then we started talking. Of course, she asked questions like, how far up do you wash your face? And do you get acne on your head? After answering a few of her questions like that, we started having this deep conversation about what it was that we were going through. I spoke a little bit about my health issues, but then she started talking about her own mental and physical state. She told me that she suffered from health issues that affected her on a day-to-day basis. I never would have expected someone like her to be suffering from internal diseases that no one else could see. She seemed fine whenever I saw her in class, and yet we had this same shared struggle of that kind of experience. I think I learned then and there that there is a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is the feeling of sorrow or pity for one's misfortune, while empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. I shared my experience with her that day, and she felt comfortable enough to do the same. Vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. You are literally putting yourself out there to be rejected, humiliated, or embarrassed. That takes courage. And yet, by taking that risk, you can create meaningful, fulfilling connections with the people you never thought possible. When you resist vulnerability, you resist human connection. One of my favorite quotes on this is by Brené Brown, and she says, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. Without vulnerability, we wouldn't have creativity, innovation, or change. It's about truly living. That's why courage and vulnerability go hand in hand to create a meaningful experience between people. So, what does this all boil down to? The main takeaway is we are all bald somewhere. Yeah. So when we acknowledge that we are the victim, we can own ourselves and our actions. And when we become confident and proud of that, we allow ourselves to become vulnerable so that we can create deep, meaningful, long-lasting relationships with the people around us. With all of these things together, we can be kind. We can be kind to others even if they look or seem different from us. We can be kind to others because they might be struggling with something that we might not be able to see. Everyone might not be a victim. Everyone might not own themselves or their actions. Everyone might not be willing to be vulnerable, but we still must choose kindness. If we are to make the world a better place, we have to acknowledge that we all have something we're ashamed of or deem a weakness. We all have something we don't want to share with the world. Not everyone is showing that they are grieving or dealing with physical, emotional, or mental health issues. I didn't choose to be vulnerable wherever I go or walk around with one of my biggest flaws. Remember that we are all bald somewhere, but we should choose to be kind no matter who we meet or how they treat us. So, I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite quotes that I choose to live by, and it's, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always. Thank you for listening.